So can report to no more. IMF can pay or report to no more say. Sa domestic purchase a gold purchase program no. Our financial risk. Now, gold reserves no losses to be a day womb. Gold reserve. Let me make it clear today. So kind Emrana gold reserves and your gold board and the control and your gold board there. And as how kind gold board law now a ye cry gold board law no and as say yin and near the year Jumana MPP policy no Ghana for whom policy na MPP de buy Babe Boa Ghana. Now see your funny say Sami Jamfia. At the end of the day, Ghana for whom policy na kasa say MPP policy and I'm a do some pempens and there may kind of crash them. Some funny say IMF report to no losses on Abano. Ye Baba Yeno, Sami Jamfia. Ghana for who the benefit of the domestic gold purchase program no MPP de by Omu. So kind gold board at now at 25 at 1140 Tia Section 2 object of the gold board Section 2C I say the Section 2C I say the object of the gold board is to support is to support the accumulation of gold reserves by the Bank of Ghana. I said the object of the gold board is to support the accumulation of gold reserves by the Bank of is to support domestic gold purchase program na abano. But I am a say you gold reserves. And no component under the domestic gold purchase program. Na basana ababa ye commodity by the Bank of Ghana and not the gold board. Ababa ye commodity. Bank of Ghana no and the day baba ye adwuma. Ye commodity. Bank of Ghana commodity. Because domestic gold purchase program no yedi abase ye ni e ba beto no yesi Bank of Ghana to gold ana andis yaba na previous precious minerals one no wo mu ye changes marketing minerals company no wo mu sisandin no ana o maye no gold board ana gold board object ni say they will support the accumulation of gold reserves by the Bank of Ghana. And to say IMF report to say losses about gold reserves no one and ye gold and yes Sami Jamfi. It shouldn't be Sami Jamfi. Yem ready at the enemy and TSA. Including our more mosquito finances or more canning. Yem ready at the end. Nayan director why I see a director as some no. Because I gold reserves a commodity under the Bank of Ghana and your commodity under the gold board. Gold board the answer about say gold reserves now Bank of Ghana for pen or best support and the law is clear on that say is to support the accumulation of gold reserves of the Bank of Ghana support. And so koko support not a loss so bad. And you know, ask the Bank of Ghana. Ask the Bank of Ghana. Because there's no way Auditor General report ever capture sa losses na mo kan wasem no. Enti wo kan say one kan ye na se china Auditor General report wa ma. Wo be ka say Auditor General no na heda yi 214 million losses na who they can wasem no on or head than the from me while on head that obu akunta or what akunta on the gold board for baying ebebuo and no akunta on the Bank of Ghana for baying ebebuo efa gold reserve gold board no they don't account for the gold reserves no mo na account for a Bank of Ghana. Enti se kwan da ho ne se o yira. Ese me baba katira mo say baby amode ade na ekwo no mo ya yira. Goldbod doesn't account for gold reserves. Because almost they support the accumulation of gold reserves of the Bank of Ghana. Nti kwana Bank of Ghana be fasuma gold reserves akosoro no ana ono ne de ho na oboa. Nti kabia ba yenko bisa Bank of Ghana. Na muntie IMF no munim kwana IMF fa so nya sika. International Monetary Fund na da me no mo problem. Problem no mo won say wo mo establish IMF 1944. Time ye establish IMF 1944 no. E kwana IMF wo fa so nya sika ni. Member countries no mo kwese IMF ase no. E wo sika no mo de call IMF ansa na waba be member country. As at 1944 no, now person we a member of the IMF fund now. 25% of our financial contribution no muji gold 1944. And then I make catch them all. Yeah, establish IMF in 1944. No more establish here no more say o. Amany na mo pese mo be join me na nkese mo hiam wa ya ba be boa mo no. 25% of your contribution no emfa cash ma ye de be gold 1944. Afero matiase mo ba bia IMF be ye IMF no mo nye cash. Financial contribution a different 1944 yeti IMF no na member countries no wo financial contribution to support IMF no mo nye cash no mo gi gold na gold na no mo gi no enya no akire enya no nko a o a different 1944 ba nyina no wo call for IMF support no ukwaji sika na se duru se wutua interest na yes da bi ye nya sika go and bring us gold. And your second point. The next you say emre bi atwam na countries binum a mo akwa currency. Ti say Ghana na e pounds because na say Britain aban ase. Emre bi ba say asese yenya ya ye Ghana city. IMF no yes on be support ye ama ya yenya ye sika no. Omo say support wa ye de boa mo no say ne emu betua amaye no momfa amaye gold. Nti all countries ukwa Ivory Coast no sefa no omade omo se da be yanyi sefa monkofa gold mra Burkina Faso omo se monkofa gold mra Benin se monfa ko Nigeria sana IMF for ye. Anti na me no ka say wa wutie me bia no just do a research. And na IMF will gold munim say IMF will gold reserves. IMF gold reserves or mu wasisi amena mo kasa no eye 90.5 million ounce. IMF gold reserves Ghana afena yeduru 37 tons. IMF gold reserves no eye 90.5 million ounces. What the tons were? A 2,814.1 metric tons of gold reserves and IMF woman Ghana afeni ewo 37 tons of gold. Ya na ye woman free gold koso. IMF na ye beti in 1944 no. Onwa yusu na dwene ewo gold reserves 90.5 million ounces. What the quantity tons more? A year 2,814.1 metric tons. And they say we convert it and now 1 ounce of gold a year $4,459. 1 ounce of gold, 1 ounce of gold, $4,459, 1 ounce of gold. And IMF for 90.5 million ounce of gold. O convert here, 2,814 metric tons of gold. And then 1 gram of gold, $143. And then 1 kilogram of gold, 143.368. And to so far IMF for gold reserves. I will bu ye fast so kodiko sie a different 1944 ebesi na IMF gold reserves. O convert here. $395 billion gold reserves in Kwamo. So, o turn in net the Drea minimum Casaya. $395 billion gold a different 1944. Womada a before Womada no more dear. Upasoye member country bra for gold bra. All the African countries. Abrofone say your financial contribution there. Oma who say gold to Africa. Wamuji ye gold. Namum wamu abrofone there. Yes see. Mumfa sikana emraba omuduru Africa no. Omo say yemfa gold ene nye sika mom. Ana oma boano ene omo tonwa. $395 billion IMF gold reserves. $5 billion na eda chire no kwano etimi ye Ghana yi. Enti IMF atnasia hun say Dr. Mahmoud Baumia domestic gold purchase program na odiaba no a game changer for a time to come. A game changer. Ano mahada ye report to say a domestic gold purchase program no any gold reserves no e face financial risk. Not to say but ani say jai gold to asomanya na dabia ye kom ho ne yakogina onom epebosia na se Ghana ye timagina ye naso atimanya even 800 tons of gold, 800 tons of gold that wa. Eni kwan say obi etna kroma kase. Ye nya adwuma nye. Factories ni kroma. See wo 800 tons of gold reserves e wo Ghana. Eni kwan say amanfo ni nam street say adwuma ni Ghana. 800 tons of gold. Abetima sesa on my way within a minute. 800 tons of gold. Abetima sesa on mine. And then I'm a fuakwa year report to say domestic gold purchase program ni gold reserves, you know. Our financial risk na loss to be about gold reserve. Ni yes so almost Omo IMF 2022 investment losses on quiet $300 million. And then the Oman can't say. But need to me identify and who say policy way never boy man one. A best stabilize your currency no. Amana ye dene. Inflation beba from and only you better you sue for all international transactions no gold reserves no ebetima boye ama your currency no anya hoden. And inti ame for who say sa policy way no aye enemy to them and to make us say gold reserves no any domestic was some financial and the government Bank of Ghana should relook at it in the understanding they say ye and to me so almost say IMF the truth of the matter and say gold reserves and I say domestic gold purchase program no and your goldbod component and your commodity domestic gold purchase program and our gold reserves no and yet the commodity under the goldbod and a Bank of Ghana si ye ka se be fa Sami Jamfi won tan e bia nora bi e de aye de be body yekuro. The truth of the matter na say ba bia ye de asem na fa na ye wrong. The fact say goldbod wo ho no and say IMF year report na me hu say report we de in kadia na me ba be ka say no me I won't do that. Maybe I won't do that. The truth of the matter na ma year p no say gold reserves I need domestic gold purchase program ni nyina no e Bank of Ghana and sanu aduma enye goldbod and sanu aduma goldbod aduma ne say e bia BOG epe gold wa wo de ba support wo reserves na no fi say obenya gold no be their support wa no their support is different than say BOG and a pump sika for gold reserves and by you goldbod until ya ka say koko bremu goldbod on that they are wrong blame whereby ye nim say goldbod no gold reserves no a direct component or commodity under the Bank of Ghana. I don't know yanka Bank of Ghana and in fact Bank of Ghana lete and I'm back in Can. No one who say I'm a fono wamona grow money so ofa letter way dated 17 December 2025. I say Ghana's macroeconomic progress praised by IMF and gold loss and also on gold loss claim speculative. I say Ghana's microeconomic progress praised by IMF gold loss claim speculative. I say paragraph 3 no and I may back in kind. This is the letter IMF release a Bank of Ghana release. Producer Hena show Bank of Ghana release page 3. I say although the IMF reviewed flag financial risks associated with the domestic gold purchase program. Although the IMF reviewed flag financial risks associated with the domestic gold purchase program. That is the policy I'm peeping at the buy. It is important to place this concern within the broader context of the program's significant microeconomic contribution. The domestic gold purchase program is a policy tool. It's a policy tool that has helped shore up Ghana's international reserves, supported currency stability, and enable access to large volume of foreign exchange without incurring new debt. As I'm not dead, we are MPP na Bank of Ghana, a whole Bank of Ghana, at the release way back. It should be in our favor. It should be in our favor. Besi nay. Modi Sami Jamfi. Ama sam dead way ayira. Meanwhile, niamu kani nyinano enye within the Sami Jamfi domain. Enye within the Sami Jamfi domain. Diamo kani nyinano enye within Sami Jamfi domain. Yanka no krema ye ho. Enye within me enye ho me nkoka say am pipinti me ti ha last year kwato nko me kwaye defamation kwa makunu emu bia so ni ho amete ato aye misika party misam say amanso na ye de foro wo ohia tv nko aye de akokod amanfo de makokod cases nko antia ya spend this sika de twa amanso last year fi ye guso me matiato never dabi NC dabi mentinto asembia maka bia wo ha no wo ka tem se men retrate because niama hu na me meka nti wo ka se retrate yen kokoto nti yebeko yebeko atra Supreme Court akọ African Union African Court kra meko ECOWAS Court kra meko because menya kana se me say men retrate ade so twamiti anti asem no na da ha no MPP communicators and our department no someone with this release here asem ne de asem a Bank of Ghana can nyina ne say dollar na ba fam no eye ba omia asem a Bank of Ghana can say ene amanfo omudi dwa wa amanone ebe so mo ye transaction na wo mo mre because of the domestic gold purchase program eye MPP favor we o kama MPP asema Bank of Ghana can nyina ne say because of the domestic gold purchase program no ama ye international reserves no akosoro eye MPP o kama MPP asema mo kan nyina ne say ye foreign exchange and ebinu ya propaganda. Bank of Ghana say yem fasida emma domestic gold purchase program a ye policy Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia ene diaba we nya bronya na eka Christmas no mo ye sami jamfio na me ye me research ya no ana me copy this document from the Bank of Ghana. We signed by the Communication Department 25th December 2025. 25th December 2025. What you say? Baby Cross recognizing both macroeconomic benefit and physical cost of the domestic gold purchase program. The board of the Bank of Ghana recently approved reform to improve pricing and operational efficiency in the downstream segment of the program. Meaning says no enye goldbod wa Bank of Ghana said they own it. And no mu wie ya no mo say adia ba ko ekita oman no eye sa program no enti ne Bank of IMF o ka no yentie na entie china ese ba now kampipi ya boda wuro wo dan bia mu mo bia te say akora na ba omia de ba ya eye domestic gold purchase program Angisi toto ntasuo gu so no ene angisi na safa ho edi ho adanse e won krata mu enenie but se mo putu sa losses no under the gold board wa enye ye so echena. That is a fact because me domestic gold purchase program me tena mu enti minimu obia no obefri nchen aba be kire me mu a kire me o kira wonimu nchen me Ochira unimu ncheme ni emimi ni ma me fi say ye rare fast and na meka wanse mo de sa losses no and $214 million losses eh sami jamfi na it cannot be, and that is not the case because enye ni commodity o ka se Bank of Ghana ni ye som, and that is the truth of the matter. The fact say eh gold board no and say losses to be about yanka say a gold board all because it is about gold. No, you're wrong. Samudi Sami Jamfia Achi Nano Sembia be Okan Yadia and Yamobaka Sembia Gufua Ebeda Majikun because Bank of Ghana aye at the papa a governor of the Bank of Ghana. I'm a communication department at the statement we are by. MPP, we should be happy and celebrating this. And not just say economy ya can waseminu. Madikanaka, the start of the program say John Mahama any ato force or munye salete away. Any adance here, efani emeka no. Me sana read paragraph 3. Bank of Ghana release 25th December 2025. Press immediate release. Ghana's macroeconomic progress praised by IMF. Gold loss claim speculative. Paragraph 3. Although the IMF reviewed flag financial risks associated with the domestic gold purchase program, it is important to place this concern within the broader context of the program's significant macroeconomic contribution. The domestic gold purchase program is a policy tool. That is a policy. I'm saying a policy na MPP de buy. It's a policy tool that has helped shore up Ghana's international reserves, supported currency stability. He also supported currency stability and enable access to large volumes of foreign exchange. Large and enable access to large volume of foreign exchange, because maybe not this say yes sansiri no ansan yakoko e na madru ba bie no na yesiri na ye mere no, but nay program na Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia de bayen eduru wa ye will go to support foreign exchange enti ama yesiri no aye ayakono anya hoden eno na ndisi asema. If an agency of the government a crazy policy we should be celebrating and make sure say Ghana niya or seba be able to say and nipa your friend no Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia or adwene na say MPP samba power. If NDC see your policy way and ama or more economy na ye dia adena yen sanema power ni edi ni bra kogu sami jamfi so onkwa abato wo mreko a ye dia no se sami jamfi di na no na wi MPP 2024 ye ntimi mfa ya no enwi sansem we ntia omo a wo mo boy abaso yi me ma hu say enye goldbod no de na all the documents and communication and what I've read in it say losses no ye free Bank of Ghana na nye sami jamfi dabi enye losses no de gold reserves a commodity a direct commodity a Bank of Ghana say entino say Bank of Ghana ko turn gold raboka a Bank of Ghana na turn gold raboka enye sami jamfi a enye sami jamfi and the no me I won't buy because Bank of Ghana crab boa MPP with this I said banan kranika ye release akotu communicate achira manfo enti andisi fo na wo mo sora no pa ana mahama baye ni ye nyanhemfo bi na mahama baye hwede siri na ye hwede ye dollar na ye wayade. Bank of Ghana 25th December 2025 ose mahama nim ho hwe eye Bawumia eye nanado ani so adi hunu eye Bawumia ni so adi hunu eye MPP policy enti himfuna mo say na dollar ye and economy na ye no the governor of the Bank of Ghana abekase munyai kasa na ye MPP policy the domestic gold purchase program and per this release the Bank of Ghana is saying say Sankanya domestic gold purchase program ya inka Ghana economy no akrashe